KayFabe Smark Podcast. Welcome to the KayFabe Smark Podcast with Eric Todd and Brian Rampa, your smart mark source for news and opinions on the world of professional wrestling.
Hey, it is April 8th. We are live here on YouTube with the KayFabe Smark Podcast. This is episode 46. And we are going to get into NXT this week. But first, before we get into all of that, make sure you guys head on over to the KayFabe Smark Podcast on all the social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and get on over to audibletrials.com/KayFabeSmark. Get your free audiobook, free 30-day trial. Check that out. And let's head on over to check in with our boy, Mr. Eric Todd.
What up? It's the same old. Had a good Easter. Went over to my mom's house. Haven't seen her in a few weeks. We actually did not cook. We got carry out from Texas Roadhouse.
Perfect.
Best $100 we've ever spent, man.
Everybody gets what they want.
Tips. Yeah, steak tips, chicken critters, mashed potatoes, baked potatoes, salads, and of course those gorgeous, delicious dinner rolls with that honey butter.
Oh, yeah. Can't go wrong with that. Yeah, everybody can make the plate that they want, right? Nobody's going off of one generic dinner that's being made. So, we are coming up, Eric. This is the countdown into WrestleMania, the WrestleMania weekend. Big time.
Yes.
Lots of stuff going on.
This is the road to WrestleMania. We are at the final stretch.
Are you feeling any of the old wrestling fan jitters, if you will, the nerves, the fun, the excitement, the Christmas morning of WrestleMania, or does it just feel like some mo shit?
Yeah, the excitement's not there. I'm almost ashamed to say it. Even though there's going to be 45,000 people there each night, and it's going to be a huge turnaround and a huge resurgence, if you will, into the what we're used to with WWE. I don't know. The excitement just, there's nothing that's really, I'm dying to see. Nothing's really drawing me in that as a fan. I'm like, oh, I can't wait to watch WrestleMania. It's just not like the olden days.
Yeah, it doesn't have that same vibe for me at the moment, but, you know, maybe as they're wrapping it up or getting ready to go live, they do so much work in those vignettes, and we've talked about so many times that next thing you know, you're excited about a match that you didn't really even understand maybe why it was on the card, because you blinked and some things happened, and hell, they can tell a great story in vignettes. They can tighten up an 8-month story into a real clean package that you go, damn, let's see this shit.
Yeah, but oh man, it is just for me when they're pushing one of the huge matches of being Randy Orton versus the Crispy Fiend. It's just, there's been so much magic and bullshit and just cartoon garbage that's surrounded that whole feud with Alexa Bliss and everything. It's like, okay, that's one of the matches you guys are hanging your hats on. Yeah, I'll watch this with a plate of chicken wings and my phone in my hand watching TikTok.
Definitely not necessarily excited for that, because as we discussed last week, it is probably going to be some type of cinematic style match. I would be more happy if it wasn't, not because we've complained and disliked the WrestleMania or the cinematic matches so much, but just throw it off, right? Last year, the cinematic match was the all-new rave because it had never been seen and really done before. And then now we've kind of been seeing them, once a month, every month for the last 12 months.
We've seen swamp matches, and AEW even jumped on the train with the Sting Warehouse match.
Football fuckery.
Oh, yeah, football fuckery. The Matt Hardy compound array of bullshit. Yeah, everybody's on the bandwagon for cinematic matches, and I'm hoping with live audiences coming back that it just kind of fades into obscurity.
Fades into the COVID era. Well, a couple of questions on which way we go with this first. Last week you spoke about our top AEW roster list that we were going to put together, but we also always have to go over some news. So where do we want to go first?
Let's start with some news. Why break tradition?
We're off to the news from around the world to your ears. This is the KayFabe Smark News. All right, Eric always leads us through the dance of the news. What do you have for us this week?
Well, the big news this week, Brian. AEW star Chris Jericho is going to be on Steve Austin's Broken Skull sessions directly after night 2 of WrestleMania on Peacock, of course. And that's got the internet wrestling community buzzing, chatting, debating. What does this mean? What's going on? And there's a lot of news surrounding it. A lot of people talking.
I'm not gonna lie, it did break on last Friday. Was it April 1st? Was that it was April Fool's Day, nonetheless. Whatever day that was.
Right.
And I thought 100% it was a rib. Thought I was getting my old leg pulled here because just a story like that kind of breaks on April 1st. You tend not to believe it. So I didn't, but did the research, and hot damn, it's gonna go down.
Right. My son's girlfriend pulled the old pregnancy prank on him for April Fool's Day. And I told her, I don't care what you told me. I don't believe it. If it's April 1st, no matter what you tell me, I don't believe it. So don't even try. So this fell right into it. When I saw a graphic of Jericho and Austin sitting across from each other on April 1st, I'm like, yeah, bullshit.
Bullshit. Well, it is true. It is going down. What is your first reaction to this, Eric?
First reaction right off the bat was, wow, Vince really doesn't give a shit about AEW now. They're just they're a piece of toilet paper on Vince's shoe at this point.
It proves to me that Jericho can go back wherever he wants and still do whatever he wants.
There's that too. There is a level of star that could basically walk into Vince's office and shit on his carpet, and he would allow him in after a little bit of cooling down time. I don't see an Andrade or even a Miro Rusev being able to walk back into Vince's office anytime soon. But someone like Jericho or the Big Show both of them we'll see on WWE TV in the future.
At least for their Hall of Fame inductions.
Right. Right. At the very least.
The very least. I mean, look at everything Vince has been through with Hogan. Mr. Hulk Hogan himself. He bounces on the company. He pleads against him in the steroid case. Said lots of things over the years and gotten into lots of trouble just even recently over the years. And he comes and goes. He's back. So Jericho will be back one day in the WWE. But do you have anything else on that? Anything buzzing around what they're going to talk about, where they're at?
Well, first of all, Austin did speak on how he got this to come about. Him and Jericho talked. Jericho showed some interest in coming on the show. Austin reciprocated. Reciprocated. You know what I'm trying to say. And so he ran it by Vince and told Vince he thinks it would be a badass idea to have Jericho on the show. Vince goes, "It's cool. Go ahead." Austin and Vince, neither one of them are technological geniuses when it comes to cell phones and texting. So Austin makes sure and says, "Are you sure it's okay to have Chris Jericho on the show?" And Vince gave the thumbs up. So
literally a thumbs up emoji. Think Vince uses emojis?
I'm thinking that, or it was on like Facebook Messenger or something where there's just a thumbs up like available to use anytime. But yeah, just no pushback whatsoever on Vince's end. Go ahead, Steve.
Why would there be? Why should there be? For one, Vince is no dummy. He knows this will break the internet. And it damn near
Right.
did just the drop in the tease and the picture of them together. So, and what are they trying to do right now? Bring people to subscribe to Peacock under the guise that they're coming there for the WWE Network. So if they can influx as many people to come to that to the Peacock Network, they go, oh my God, they're gonna put this on there. I'm definitely getting Peacock. They're gonna use all those tactics they can. So Vince is taking all the chances in the world to prove to NBC that I can bring people in.
Right. Make this worth the how much was it? $1
$5
billion?
Oh yeah, the $1 billion deal over the next whatever years. Yeah.
Something like that. But TMZ actually got in on this too, which was kind of surprising. They caught up with CM Punk to get his opinion on it. CM Punk's quote is, "It's interesting for sure. Obviously, I understand the buzz. Maybe I'll give it a shot and watch it, but it feels like it's going to be softball questions. I don't know if they're going to ask Jericho all the tough questions, nor do I think that they possibly should. It's an interesting situation, and it'll probably be a feel-good interview where they talk about Jericho's past at WWE. I'm sure they'll mention AEW, but they won't get into the hard questions that I think people are interested in."
Well, Mr. Personality, Colt, or I almost said Colt Cabana for the love of crime, and CM Punk. What would those hard questions be? Like, what would you take that as? That is such a hard question to ask. Why he left? I mean,
I think maybe the differences between working in WWE and AEW.
All right, I can give you that. That'd be
something like that.
That'd be a hard question. Like if it's the big question of why did you leave? Because he's done everything in the goddamn company. Let's go try something new over here for a minute and recreate myself. So when he does come back, he can work again, because he will come back again.
Yeah, but I really, but beyond that, I don't see too much controversial questions they could ask about AEW. Obviously, they're going to lean away from anything that just lets Jericho basically put on an infomercial for AEW. They didn't pay for advertising. Who knows?
Maybe they did.
Might have. Who knows?
Maybe they did.
But they did. TMZ asked CM Punk, "Are you surprised that Tony Khan and Vince McMahon would even allow this?" CM Punk's quote, "My knee-jerk opinion on it is that shows that Vince McMahon isn't afraid of AEW at all, because if he was, he wouldn't allow that to happen."
Very good point. Very good point. I agree with that.
Yeah, I'm taking the CM Punk stance on that. That was actually my opinion before I even saw this CM Punk thing. I think I had mentioned it on past episodes of the podcast that Vince isn't taking AEW seriously anymore. So he's just using, now it's a business opportunity for him. AEW is no longer a threat, and bringing a few future guys onto WWE programming can do nothing but bring more eyes in.
Yeah, especially a guy that's Jericho. It's not like Steve wants to interview the Young Bucks, right? Somebody who's never been in the company. I want to bring on Orange Cassidy and interview Orange Cassidy. Like there would be no point to it. So that I could see getting shot down. But Jericho, bring him on all day.
Yeah, for sure. And that's all I got on that. And then also in WWE news, WWE has issued a list of banned words which they have asked promotional partners not to use when promoting the upcoming WrestleMania 37 pay-per-view.
Oh boy.
Fightful Select leaked this list, and some of the words we've seen before, but these are the 37 banned words that WWE partners cannot use.
Please.
WWF, babyface, heel, diva, belt, kayfabe, DQ, house show, blood, murder, kill, murder and kill. I kind of understand those. Choke, strap, headshot, trauma, mofos, the anti-diva. Some of these are just out of left field. Spinal injuries. I guess I can understand that. Victim, violence or violent, wrestling or wrestlers.
That one pisses me off.
Yeah, it does. Wife beater,
Okay.
curb stomp, which I use every time Seth Rollins wrestles. I refer to that as the curb stomp.
That's what it was called for the longest time.
Right. Needs a push, to be over, job or jobber, card, and strangle.
I get the insider terms that have leaked out. Kayfabe and strap and over and push. I can understand those. No, do they list like who the partners are that are promoting this? Like who else promotes WrestleMania besides the WWE?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you. There's not really a list or anything, but I'm not sure they're walking around going, make sure you tune into WWE WrestleMania, where we'll see spinal injuries, murder, blood, killing, and choking.
Where you're gonna see
sure these mofos use that strap. It's gonna be violent.
Where you're gonna see Edge get the push he deserves because he is over like a mofo.
Yeah,
I guess
honestly,
we
who
are
the fuck would say this shit?
We are officially not partners now on this, Eric, with the WWE, as we've just used you leaked all 37 of them, and we just cut promos using about 26 of them.
Yeah, and we're not exactly strongly recommending WrestleMania, where we're like, yeah, you guys are putting your money on Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton in a cartoon match.
It's not even over. It's not even. It's not for a strap, and I think somebody's getting a spinal injury.
This is an amazing card. I don't know who's gonna job. Seems like a lot of jobbers are trying to be over. But
screw these mofos. He's a wife beater.
Yeah, I didn't get the wife beater thing either. Even if they're referring to a T-shirt, what if Jeff Hardy's there? All he wears is wife beaters.
And then he keeps an extra one in his back pocket.
Who doesn't?
Who doesn't? Never know when you need one.
You know what time it is, Brian? It's time for our weekly Peacock news.
Dun, 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 dun.
Peacock has added the following WWE events to their streaming service. So it's nothing significant, but it is showing that Peacock is actively adding shit, getting more content up, and they're actually making it a priority. We've got WWE bragging rights from 2009 up now.
Oh, my
Thank
Lord.
God,
I've been waiting for that.
I thought we were going to do a watch along last week on that, weren't we?
I remember falling asleep watching that.
WWE Cyber Sunday 2006, 7, and 8. ECW December to Dismember 2006.
No, that was the WWE ECW.
Oh, yeah, that wasn't it?
Yes.
And then WCW Halloween Havoc 1989 through 2000. So that's a big one.
Yeah, it's just the ones that they pick and it's just very like they just put them all in a hat. All right, let's do Halloween Havoc today, guys. Cool.
I honestly, I think that's what they're doing. They're just like, what do you want to put up today, guys? How about WWE's New Year's Revolution 2005 through 2007?
You need bragging rights up there with the quickness.
And then this one I'd probably have interest in watching. NWA/WCW Starrcade 1983 through 2000.
Wow.
So the Starrcades are actually pretty interesting. I've gone back on the network and watched a few of those.
Do you ever go back and watch the first one?
I don't think I have.
Ooh.
Is it rough?
It's just so old school and so Southern and NWA. It's just the big move. He did a knee drop. It's like, all right, Gordon Soley.
Holy smokes, that's a finisher.
Yeah.
Gordon Soley.
Any other news?
All right. Yeah. Guess who's trying to get a push and trying to come back to the business? Personally reaching out to Vince McMahon.
Is he trying to get a strap so he can get over? I'm going to use all those words.
That would be the Boogeyman.
Ugh.
He's going to get you. Boogeyman went on Twitter, gave Vince McMahon a shout out, and trying to get back into WWE. He's posted a video on Twitter of him jump roping, and I quote, this was his tweet: "Give me the ball, Vince. Hashtag WWE legend." And Boogeyman's 56, by the way, in case you were wondering.
Well, I remember he was old because he lied or something when he was on Tough Enough, and he got the boot.
Bruce told that story, I think, on one of his podcasts.
And he got the boot off of Tough Enough because his age leaked of how old he was. So he's either trying to not really answer the question or he was fibbing around it or whatever. And then he got the boot, and then he ended up still getting a deal and had lots of TV time. Didn't really wrestle, but he got to be on TV and eat worms and hold an alarm clock. So,
but I ain't mad at the Boogeyman, and it looks like he's in pretty good shape. But at 56, it's just, I don't know. Almost you feel bad for the guy because he's just in a regular ass apartment complex. It doesn't look like it's anything special. Jump roping in the parking lot, and he's damn near 60 years old, and he's like, "Bring me back, Vince." You know, there's not a snowball's chance in hell that Vince is going to bring you back.
Not a chance. Not a chance. That's surprising. Really, it is.
No chance in hell.
There's no chance. No chance. Go ahead.
All right. There's been an update on the WrestleMania 37 Miz match, Miz and Bad Bunny.
Oh.
No longer a singles match, thank God.
Okay.
Looks like everyone's healthy. Everyone's where they need to be. It's going to be a tag team match just like it was originally planned. Bad Bunny and Damian Priest versus John Morrison and The Miz. So, yeah, thank God that went back to normal because just The Miz and Bunny in the ring, I don't think I could do it.
Yikes. Yeah, that would be a rough one. So I'm glad they've tightened that up, and now they can hide that. It is still a stupid match. It's like just a random. This. Do you think this will be on the main card, or do you think this will be on the pre-show, the undercard?
Oh, it's going on the main card for sure.
Oh boy.
Apparently, the Bad Bunny is bringing a lot of viewers to WWE, and I don't get it. Maybe it's because I'm 39 years old.
Probably. That's why we don't get it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or care.
But whatever. It'll be a shit show to watch for sure and to pick apart. There's going to be some comebacks in the wrestling world.
Oh.
It's been confirmed that Ronda Rousey and Becky Lynch will be eventually returning to WWE. The quote from, oh shit, I lost the guy's name, but some guy who knows somebody says that Ronda is going to be coming back at a certain point in time. That's pretty on the nose.
Cool. I think it might rain tomorrow too.
Yeah. And Becky Lynch just had her first baby. She will be coming back at a certain point in time in the not too distant future.
Becky, I 100% had no question she was going to come back after she has the baby. Everybody's healthy and they're on a regular life cycle of what happens after you have kids and you're trying to live and work. No question, saw that coming back. Ronda surprises me because she didn't really do much. I mean, yeah, sure, she was the champion, but, they can make anybody champion. I mean, David Arquette was a champion, so you can just hand that thing to anybody if you want, but nothing so memorable where I was like, oh my God, Ronda Rousey. And then she kind of talks shit about wrestling after leaving. Like, you couldn't fight 100 nights a year if this was real. She kind of shit on the business for a little bit. So it's like, wow, after all that, you want to come back?
Then tried to pass it off like she was just cutting a promo, trying to be a heel. I'm a heel. It's what heels do.
You're a shitty heel. She tried to be mean, and then she was just so happy to be there. All she did was smile. She was like the cheekiest smile every time she went out there. People chanting her name. I didn't really care for her. Not that I didn't care for her. I just didn't care whether she was there or not.
Right. I feel you on that. So, yeah, Ronda Rousey and Becky Lynch will eventually be back in WWE ring. And our final story of the night in the news, since we're not going to be talking about AEW tonight, there was another return on AEW. Mike Tyson made his return to the AEW arena last night.
Why doesn't
Like-
this is not off topic, but why doesn't AEW do any type of teasing to lead you into care that something's gonna happen? They're just like, Mike Tyson will be there tonight. Make sure you watch us and not NXT because they're doing their big show. That's a 2-night show leading into WrestleMania. Mike Tyson. You're like, Mike Tyson hasn't been there since he was caught yawning outside being the special enforcer of his other match that night. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, AEW is booked by a child. It's just what it seems like. So it's like,
Do you remember that episode of Family?
Just knee-jerk reactions.
Remember that episode of Family Guy where they teased about how they pick their episodes and it was like seals like grabbing a ball out of a gumball machine or something? I can't remember the exact thing, but it was very random like that. Do you remember what I'm talking about? That's how AEW is booked.
Yeah, I don't
Maybe
know.
it was
a
South
whole
Park.
Weird.
I think it was South Park teasing
The
Family
Simpsons,
Guy.
Yeah, all that was mixed up. But basically, Family Guy gets their plots by just picking having dolphins pick random balls or seals or whatever.
And that's how AEW is booked. They put all their ideas in a gumball machine. They put a quarter in, they turn it, and they go, looks like Mike Tyson's here tonight. Like, you need something that was a little teased in for some big surprises, but I digress.
Yeah, to steal a metaphor from Jim Cornette here, Tony Khan is just a rich kid who has live action figures now. He turned his wrestling toy collection into real life guys, and that's what he's doing. He's just playing and having fun.
100, man. I was a big supporter of AEW. I'll always watch AEW. I'll bitch about it. I'll watch any wrestling, though. I watch New Japan. I'll turn on Ring of Honor. I'll watch WWE, NXT, this, that, the other thing. I'll watch it all. GCW. I'll tune into all wrestling. But Ring of Honor, my God. AEW right now is just booked so randomly, and they want to be the big boys, right? So if I tune into some off-the-wall indie promotion, the Game Changer Wrestling, or I'm even like stepping up into Ring of Honor, and they're doing things that don't make sense, they're not claiming to take on the big guy. If you want to be in the big boy dance, do the big boy things, right? But when you're just watching all wrestling and it's done differently, you go, okay, cool, let's just do what you want to do. But AEW is booked so random and so cheesy. But I'll watch it, and I'll laugh, and I'll have fun.
Yeah, I don't know. On one hand, you want to say that they see themselves as direct competition with WWE, and they want to take WWE down, but in the same breath, they're happy with their 700,000 viewers a week. And obviously TNT isn't exactly thrilled because they had to go kind of yank Tony Khan's chain there and say, quit doing surprise debuts. Announce, if you got big names, announce them ahead of time. That way we can take advantage of these ratings. I don't think TNT likes what they see coming, that viewership is dropping little by little every month. That somebody's going to have to put their foot down with AEW and tell them to get their shit together, bring the viewership back up, because this indie bullshit and just trying to keep your core viewership of indie wrestling fans, it's not going to work long term.
Yeah. I'm not sure I agree 100% on the bring back or the announcements of debuts and comebacks and everything, but at least some general teases that create internet buzz and, people talking about it going, what do you think that meant? Who is this? Maybe, do you get what I'm saying? Where there was like that old school tease where something was going to happen and you knew you had to see who was jumping ship, like the when Jericho was coming in with the Y2K countdown and all that nonsense. You need some teases and stuff like that. I hate, like, WWE got so much into the Undertaker will be here next week. You haven't seen him for 6 months. It's like, well, we could have done the old school lights go out, gongs go on, and you keep tuning in to see when Taker's coming back. I'm more of a fan of that.
Well, yeah, I'm not exactly saying that I fully agree with TNT saying no surprises whatsoever anymore. But what I see is by them basically publicly shaming Tony Khan and saying no more surprises, we need viewers. It's almost like an act of desperation. Like, listen, guys, you guys were a year and a half ago, you were at 900,000 people a week. Now we're scraping 750. This trend can't continue. So we need to get as many viewers as we can. We need to get as many eyeballs on TNT on Wednesday nights as possible.
Well, the good news is NXT is officially gone to Tuesday nights, so you may get some crossover viewers now that your cable system, your channels are freed up, and you can pick what you want to watch and watch it then. So, maybe that'll help a little bit. We'll see. We'll see next week.
Yeah, there's a potential 1.3 million viewers because on any given Wednesday night, that's about 1.3, 1.4 million people are watching wrestling, whether it's NXT or AEW. There's 1.5 million people watching, so it'll be interesting to see if who's just not going to watch wrestling on Wednesdays now that NXT moved over to Tuesday.
Yeah.
We'll see next week.
I bet you we see an uptick. Again, can they keep it?
Oh, for sure, but I don't see them crossing that million threshold.
No,
I think they might get to 850, 900.
And I think then they'll get TNT to go away again. Cool, we can live with that.
Yeah. I think they'll be fine ranking number 3 or 4 on cable TV shows with just under 1 million viewers. But yeah, they're not happy watching this shit slowly decline.
Well, I did not get the chance to tune into AEW last night as I was going to watch it tonight, but it looks like it'll be tomorrow night now because my night got all screwed up. But did anything interesting happen with Mr. Mike Tyson that you know of that made the big, exciting news?
Mike Tyson saved Jericho's ass from shit. I already forgot MJF's group's name.
Pinnacle.
Pinnacle.
Imperial. That's That's Walter in NXT.
Oh yeah, that's right. I just got done watching Walter. But yeah, I guess Perennium was attacking Chris Jericho there, and Mike Tyson made the save, ended up shaking hands and hugging Chris Jericho. And they've kissed and made up because last we saw Tyson and Jericho, they were at each other's throats.
Yeah. So we wouldn't want to do anything cool like have Jericho fight Tyson at a pay-per-view to bring a lot of people in around a Wednesday night. The first Wednesday night that they have available, let's not have those two square off where it's only them, right? That won't bring any viewers in.
Right. Nope. We're just going to go ahead and squash that beef, start a whole new storyline. Every time a celebrity shows up on TV, it's just a whiteboard, just erase everything that ever happened.
Well, remember, Shaq disappeared.
Yeah.
I mean, he's David
Shaq
Copperfield.
Got water thrown on him by Brandy Rhodes and then disappeared for a month and a half.
Well, then came back and had a match and literally disappeared out of the back of an ambulance.
That's right. I forgot his disappearing Shaq trick where he had to pull his feet into the gimmick.
Yeah, it's like the for what's that stupid comedian out in Vegas had the TV show Mind Freak, Chris Angel, where he made the floating Shaq. He made Shaq float. It was a stupid balloon, the Shaq balloon. That's what he floated away. He got his Chris Angel magic and poof, he's gone.
And the funny thing about that, not to like tread too far back in AEW, but that was actually Shaq's idea, and the fact that it got past Tony Khan, Cody Rhodes, fucking Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, all these people who are in charge. You got Arn Anderson, who's a producer. All these people are in charge are like, oh, Shaq wants to do a magic trick and just disappear out of an ambulance? Sounds great. Sounds good to me.
And then, you know what we should do? We should never finish the story. That's
just leave people wondering, of course.
Leave them wanting more. They'll all tune back in. No, most of us have forgot. The ones that didn't forget are teasing you on the internet currently as we speak. Any other news before we continue on and keep things rolling?
No, that's it for news. So go ahead and hit that ticker.
That was the news. We are out of news. Shaq is still missing. If we find him, we will let you know.
Yes, that is just that's a hologram of Shaq that we see every week on TNT.
Yes.
On NBA on TNT with Charles Barkley and Kenny, not Kenny Omega, Kenny Anderson.
Couldn't tell
I
you.
don't know.
I haven't watched basketball since 1982. Well, you want to go over this AEW roster deal?
All right. So here's the thing. I actually forgot about it until a couple days ago. I'm like, oh shit, I issued a challenge. We're not going to go over AEW Dynamite this week, but I issued a challenge here to Mr. Rampa last week that we could book, or we could put people in places better than Tony Khan. And I said, you take this whole entire AEW roster, roughly 120 people, just pluck 25 of them out and see what you come up with. And it'll be interesting to compare and contrast. I actually did 26, so I could have 13 baby faces and 13 heels. And out of those 26, I've got 20 men and 6 women. Did you end up getting around to doing this, Brian?
Yes, I did. So I'm going to be honest with you. Well, we'll leave it for the show. We'll leave it for the thing. Let's roll on here. I do have my list. I have my baby faces, my heels. I do have an honorable mention list. And I believe we were making a can't wait to fire them list.
Yeah. And amongst my 26, my 13 and 13, I've got my champions listed, and right across from them, I've got their number one contenders. I'm kind of a list dork. Lists are my thing.
Love a list. All right, well, you want to start naming some baby faces and heels? We'll just go back and forth here. You name a couple, I'll name a couple.
All right. Well, let's start with our tag team champions.
Are you in any particular order of your list? Mine's not in any particular order.
I have my champions on top, and underneath that is just kind of chaos.
Okay, I got you.
All right. So my tag team champions are on the heel side, and that would be FTR, Cash Wheeler and Dax Harwood.
If anybody's listened to the show, they saw that one coming. Eric's an FTR mark.
And their number one contenders, this may surprise a few folks, are the Young Bucks.
And I'll just go with mine. I actually went the complete same thing, but the opposite. I didn't really know where to go with that. I just have the Young Bucks as champ, and I was going to have FTR go at him again.
All right. My AEW champion is also on the heel side, and that would be Chris Jericho. And I've got his number one contender as babyface Cody Rhodes.
I have my champion on the heel side of MJF, with his number one contender being Hangman Adam Page.
Interesting. So you've got younger guys further ahead in the game than I've got. My TNT champion is on the babyface side, Adam Page, and his number one contender, MJF.
Oh, hey.
So I took your world champions and I just dropped them down to the IC, basically.
My TNT champion, just because I think there could be a lot of fun done with this, Mr. Eddie Kingston, as our TNT champion. And then number one contender, keeping it kind of where they're running at right now, because, again, I think it could be interesting, Scorpio Sky.
Oh, all right. Interesting. And the girls, I've got my girl champion as heel Britt Baker, and her number one contender is babyface Thunder Rosa.
Yeah, so I didn't pick any girls.
See, I wanted to make this as...
I looked at it and honestly thought about it, and in my honorable mentions list, Britt Baker is there. She has to be there. I would love to got to keep her. And then I looked at the rest of the girls and I go, I think Britt Baker just needs to go to NXT.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. And while I was putting this list together, I definitely considered that, because you don't need a women's division. I think AEW in fact, would probably function better without a women's division. But I wanted to make this as close as TV as possible. So
Sure.
I figured we got to have at least 6 girls on there. 20 guys, 6 girls.
So who do you have as her number one contender?
Oh, for Britt Baker would be Thunder Rosa.
See, that's the thing, though. Is she even part of AEW?
She was on the AEW roster online.
All right. So anyways, all right. So is there any more champions for you to go over?
No more champions.
I didn't think so. All right.
I'll just go through the rest of my list real quick, and then we'll go through yours,
Sure.
and we'll kind of see where we clash here. I've got, on the heel side, I've got Ricky Starks. I've got Max Caster and Anthony Bowens, the Acclaimed. I've got Miro. I've got John Moxley as a heel. Lance Archer. Anna Jay. And Tay Conti. And then on my babyface side, I've got Brian Pillman Jr., Sammy Guevara, Christian Cage, Jungle Boy, another surprise, Kenny Omega, Powerhouse Hobbs, Chris Statlander, and Serena Deeb.
All right. We had several matches. Now, in your pick for these as being heel and babyface, you were going by what you would put them as, correct? Not necessarily where they're at currently in the story, any storyline.
Correct. If I had 13 and 13, I needed 13 heels, 13 baby faces. This is where I would assign them to be.
Okay, cool. Seeing where you were at, because I'm like, because some of these guys in AEW was even when I was going through the roster itself, I'm going, God, where the hell would they be even in current storyline? What are they? You know what I'm saying? So, all right, heels. I got Chris Jericho. We went over so I just go down my list. Chris Jericho, Eddie Kingston, Cash Wheeler, Dax Harwood. I got Kenny Omega, MJF, Sammy Guevara, Miro. I put Wardlow in there, Lance Archer, Santana and Ortiz, because I thought I needed to beef up some tag team situations, and Ricky Starks. That's what I got going for heels. Over on my babyface side, I got Christian Cage, Austin Gunn, Hangman Adam Page. This one for Eric. Joey Janela.
Oh, God.
John Moxley, Jungle Boy, the Young Bucks, Cody Rhodes, Lee Johnson, Big Shotty, Scorpio Sky, and then Penta El Cerro and Rey Fenix again for some tag team action, for some high flying and some spot monkey shit.
Yeah. I mean, you have Austin Gunn on your list. I'm sorry, not Austin Gunn. He's okay. You've got
Joey Janela?
Joey Janela on your list. I have to see who's on your honorable mentions at that point.
Well, see, my thought was for picking Joey Janela is that he is a character in and of himself. He is a parody of himself. He's a rock star type mentality, and I think if you give him the right reins and the right guidelines, he can be his own, be your own promoter. He's just going to go nuts. I think there's something there with that, but we would, we'll never know. Who do you got on your honorable mentions?
On my honorable mentions, I've actually got someone I'm surprised did not make your list, and that would be Pac.
He's on my honorable mentions. I was in the air. He's a great athlete. I get lost in, as we like to say here in the KayFabe Smark podcast, lost in the sauce with him. I don't know where he stands or what he's doing, and his personality is lacking, but his athleticism is off the charts.
Yeah, I can see that. He was dwindling at the bottom of my list and ended up in the honorable mention. So I've got Pac, Butcher and the Blade, Eddie Kingston, and Scorpio Sky. Those are all guys I regrettably cut from my list.
I put over there Britt Baker, as we already discussed.
Right.
Jake Hager. I think he's a great talent. I think he's good and strong and has a good look, but he's kind of vanilla, right? He's just kind of boring of that. But he has all the parts. It's just making a shitty cake.
Right.
As we discussed, Pac, Britt Baker. I put Colt Cabana in there. I really like Colt Cabana, but I think it's just. I would put Colt Cabana would be if you want to get really in depth with this, he would be a producer. He would be a guy talking to my young talent. But I couldn't pick him. And then the last one. This one will probably make Eric mad. Darby Allin. I know you're not a fan of him, but I think he just does. He does his job. He does. But, I just couldn't fit him in. And I'm sure he's on your fire list.
Wow. I
didn't even think of his ass.
No, he was on my list at one point, but he ended up getting cut, and I kind of just forgot about him after I cut him. Whoops. I have a list of 5 AEW stars that I could not wait to fire. I'd line up all their dressing rooms, and I would knock one by one. My first would be Orange Cassidy.
Match.
Wait, he didn't make your roster?
No, I put him on my fire list. I'm sick of his ass.
All right. So first on my list, Orange Cassidy. Second on my list would be Chuck Taylor. Third on my list, I should have warned you to have the button ready, Johnny Hungy.
Johnny Hungy!
Fourth on my list, Marco Stunt. And then just for shits and giggles, to watch him crumble and watch dust come out of his tear ducts, Luther.
So, I have Luther on my list. I have Orange Cassidy on my list.
All right.
Off of your heel list, I have Max Caster.
Oh, is that the rapper guy?
Yeah,
he's the one who does the rapping.
Yeah,
right?
I can't stand him.
Yeah.
He just bugs me. I also have down there Angelico and Helico.
He'd probably be number 6.
Him and his Hot Topic rave dancing can hit the fucking bricks. And I put down Serpentico too because I just don't care for him.
Oh, I forgot he existed.
It was a name. I was going through the roster and I was like, ugh. They just always have him up front on TV, but you never see him in the ring. But they make a big deal that he's there, like he's a legend or something. So it's just like, go away. I'm sick of his ass. Anybody else that fell through the cracks for me they're just gonna go away. So
yeah, some names that like Luchasaurus. I debated him for a second, and then I was like, no, he just stinks.
I can just keep him on. Now, if you ask me to build a jobber list for my baby faces and heels to build up their storyline against on TV nights, like I might need a Luchasaurus, or I may need a Glizzy Gobbler, as Eric likes to call him.
Marco Stunt.
Yes. I'm not going to put him over, but we might need a ragdoll to get beat up every now and then. Keep him in the back.
Yeah.
All right, well, that was a fun little exercise.
That was our fantasy booking, our AEW roster that we think we could do something with.
Yeah, we cross over. We cross over pretty well for, I'd say, a good 80% of it. There's some, outliers on either side of it.
Not too shabby. And if we're keeping this thing on a segmented, normal road, my psychic abilities, my spidey sense are going off. And is it time for overrated, underrated?
Wow. Yes, it is. I accidentally punched the microphone. All right. This week, because we are going into WrestleMania, let's do some overrated, underrated, quote-unquote, WrestleMania moments. You know that.
Ooh.
That WrestleMania moment. So, starting number 1, from WrestleMania 12, Shawn Michaels achieving the boyhood dream of winning the WWF Championship.
Shawn Michaels, in my book, can do no wrong. So that will always be underrated. There's no way to overrate that. That was humongous. And he played it up perfectly.
Very good. WrestleMania 6, Hulk Hogan versus the Ultimate Warrior in handing the torch to the Warrior.
Completely overrated. And I've heard even some respected names in the wrestling business put this as one of their top WWE matches of all time, just because of what it, the significance of it, and like you said, passing the torch to Warrior. But passing the torch to Warrior was such garbage. And I think having this moment exist and putting so much praise on it, completely overrated.
From WrestleMania 14, the beginning of the Austin 316 era. Austin then taking on Shawn Michaels in that. That was Mike Tyson again. Back to him. He circles back into our story. That whole storyline.
I think that was a little overrated, Brian. I I don't know. It didn't really pump me up. It wasn't too much of a surprise when Mike Tyson ripped off his shirt and he was part of DX and doing the crotch chops and everything. I don't know. I didn't.
And then at the end of that
whole
match,
thing,
he punched Shawn Michaels and turned on him and all that nonsense.
yeah. He was with Stone Cold, and I don't know. Maybe it's just I don't remember it. Maybe I was more excited back then than I remember, but to me now it doesn't seem like that big of a moment. It just feels overrated to me.
Well, no, because I was a Shawn Michaels DX fan, so then I knew Shawn was taking a break and going away for a while, so I didn't like that at all.
I might be in the same boat on that because I was always a Shawnalo.
And then after that was the new DX, and then that was when they added everybody else came back. The next night, X-Pac debuted. Brock Lesnar ending the streak at WrestleMania 30. Overrated or underrated?
Hugely overrated. And that's another one where you hear big names, respected names in the business saying Brock Lesnar was the guy to do it. Brock Lesnar is a guy who wrestles once or twice a year. Why? Why waste that legacy? Why tarnish Undertaker's undefeated legacy for a guy who's only around a couple times a year? There's no way to really milk it. I don't think Lesnar really benefited from breaking that streak. He would have been just as big if he lost.
I always thought that it should have been the kickstart of somebody else and then running with a WrestleMania streak following that. So then their streak started the day they beat The Undertaker, and then they have it continue on. And in my eyes, this is going back to WrestleMania 30, so we're talking, a good 8 years ago now, 7 years ago, is that it should have been somebody like Bray Wyatt who had that eerie Undertaker vibe to him that then they could have built off of and continued, like he stole the streak. He had the power of the WrestleMania streak now. Something along those lines I thought could have been fun. But nonetheless, this is not about my opinion. This is me looking for Eric Todd's opinion. My last one.
Just to touch on that real quick, I think you just kind of pulled Bray Wyatt as an example. I don't think you really think Bray Wyatt should have ended it.
No, but I'm saying that kind of character would have been where I would go with it.
I would have saw somebody who they were guaranteed to push and who was guaranteed to have that longevity of being a huge star. So like a John Cena. John Cena a little bit earlier in his career could have broke that streak and then just been on TV every week. And I think he would have benefited way more from breaking the streak than a Brock Lesnar, a part-time guy.
100%. Last one. Where'd my notes go? I got them sideways here. Edge and Mick Foley in their hardcore match at WrestleMania 2. Or WrestleMania 22.
WrestleMania 2. Be honest with you, Brian. I don't remember. I'm drawing a blank right now.
This is the one that was their big hardcore match. It was Foley. Obviously, it was Foley and Edge. There was lots of thumbtacks. It was that neither one of them had hit a good WrestleMania moment yet. Foley has never really done anything. They go through the flaming table. There was lots of thumbtacks. It was pretty hardcore and intense.
And now I remember because I remember the flaming table and Foley pretty much he did catch on fire, didn't he?
Yes, that was a pretty good. I mean, I thought it was. So, anyways, it was a pretty kind of like a match of that era and that moment. So, I wasn't sure. I was like, God, I don't know if he's gonna exactly remember some of these moments. I hope he remembers them all.
Yeah, that one really doesn't stick out too much to me, probably because Edge isn't a guy that you think of as hardcore, which you may assume would be the opposite. You'll remember because pretty boy Adam Copeland is doing a thumbtack fire table match, but it just didn't work for me. It was a clash of, you've got the high flyer TLC championship. Yeah, you got the strike a pose model Edge against Mick Foley in a hardcore match. It was almost like a clash of styles there.
Yeah, it was two
So
separate.
yeah,
Yeah,
I would say
you're gonna give it
say that's overrated.
overrated. All right, well there you go. WrestleMania moments, overrated, underrated. Thanks for hanging out for my little segment there. Now we're gonna get in and tear apart NXT. Their first night of their takeover, takeaway, carry out, whatever they call their pay-per-views.
Stand and Deliver, which is a movie that I watched in 10th grade Spanish class, about a Spanish teacher standing and delivering, I'm assuming.
Standing and delivering. I'm assuming. I don't really know.
I don't remember. It was my second year of Spanish, and the movie was all in Spanish, so I don't remember too much of it. I was too busy goofing off and being a class clown in 10th grade. So, but anyway, we've got NXT Stand and Deliver. We took a little break from AEW. This was a huge show for NXT. And Brian, I haven't watched NXT in a couple months because it just got stale and boring and nothing drew me in. But this was the best night of wrestling that I've watched in a long time, in at least a few months.
This was very good. I'm very excited as we're currently recording this. Night 2 is just basically wrapped up a little bit ago, so I'm excited to go pop that on the Peacock and check that out probably tomorrow, to be honest with you. But that was also a cool thing that they did, I think, again, trying to draw those people into Peacock, is that Night 2 is exclusively on Peacock. It's not on USA. So don't go looking for your DVRs to watch Night 2 of NXT's Stand and Deliver. It is exclusively on Peacock. So I thought that was a good idea as well.
I made that mistake a little bit before we started recording. I was going through my channel list on Sling here, and I was like, well, obviously USA made a mistake. They have Christine Knows Best over and over and over. But no, that's indeed what was on. And then I just realized Night 2, Peacock exclusive.
And last night, I believe from understanding, now I watched on USA, that you could watch it commercial free on Peacock. They were saying, like,
Yeah,
so
I'm not
at
sure.
one point they were going to commercial. They're like, we got to go to commercial. Stay with us in picture, but if you're watching with us on Peacock, stay tuned or, stay with us. So they kind of there was a moment of a quick, like, going out to commercial where it made it seem that they were running it commercial free on Peacock simultaneously. So they're doing some pretty nifty things that draw some people in over there.
And also, I think Peacock started at 7. Because I turned it on. I opened up the Peacock app, and at about 6:58, and it said NXT Takeover Stand and Deliver starting in 2 minutes.
Huh.
So I don't know if there was a pre-show or just people talking about it or what. But either way, I wasn't investing 3 hours.
Yeah.
I waited till 8 o'clock and I turned on USA.
Properly, yes. We kick off the night with the national anthem.
Yes, Miss Nita Strauss from Alice Cooper. And she killed it.
I've heard her play the guitar before. I knew she was good. The intro to me was it just didn't flow. They were like, the guitar player from Alice Cooper. And then but then they got like the rhythm of the announcer was broke apart, and you're like, cool. What the hell's that? They're like, and then Grammy nominated artist, Lita Strauss. It's like, oh, okay. Why didn't you get it just sounded funny.
like she didn't have quite enough name recognition to just be introduced as uh guitar savant Nita Strauss here. We the You had the whole broken uh yeah, Alice Cooper's guitarist. That who cares? When you say it that way, it's who cares.
Who cares? That's what it led me. I just kind of laughed at first. I'm like, oh, cool. This person's so good they don't get a name. They're just known as Alice Cooper's guitar player. But yeah, she killed it and did a little national anthem gimmick, and it was nice to see a live audience again. Starting to break that and see it wasn't just wrestlers standing around at the NXT. It was actually a little bit of some live people standing there pounding on the glass and cheering along.
Yeah, and we still had our majority of the fans were back on the virtual screens there.
I thought it gave it a good look. I thought it looked good. Like, TV wise, tuning into it, it looked like alive and action taking place.
And one thing that we'll touch on later in the show, but they really made use of those screens, not always just keeping people on them. There was huge moments and camera angles, and if there's anything WWE does right, it's filming, it's camera angles.
Yes, production is through the roof.
Production just adds so much to a show.
100%, Eric. And then we kick it off with our first match.
The finger bender, Pete Dunne, taking on Kushida. And I'm not going to lie, Brian, I was not excited to watch this match. And because Kushida comes out in his Michael J. Fox gimmick, and Pete Dunne, I'm so over him bending phalanges, as Beth Phoenix said over and over and over.
She said a lot of dumb shit.
She said a lot of dumb shit. That is right, Brian. But that seeing Pete Dunne and Kushida as my opening match, I was initially thinking, boy, this is going to be a long night. But these two changed my mind. They got me into the show.
What did you like about it? What were you going in? Because we know why you weren't liking it, but what drew you in? What were the things that brought you in that were?
Oh, right off the bat, they started off with a bunch of complex submission attempts in mat wrestling, and it wasn't super slow, so they kept a good pace, but it was still traditional. So that's a good mix that you can always find. If you can find a good pace where it's not too fast, not too slow, and you're throwing a bunch of technical wrestling in there, you can't go wrong almost. And these two killed it.
I wouldn't say I was excited, like I was jumping through the roof when I saw this match come on first, but I like both wrestlers. I love Pete Dunne. I like Kushida. Pete Dunne has been put into he's been, put into that finger bender gimmick, as you want to call it. Like, he's just been stereotyped right into that gimmick, and he's so much more than that. And has been more than that, and he has the capability of not just being that. So I think I was excited that when he got into the match, it wasn't all about that.
Right, for sure. My first note is Pete Dunne going after Kushida's joints, though.
But what I could respect from that is that the story of the joints and the fingers, when it did happen, Kushida stuck with it the rest of the match as soon as his fingers got snapped. He kept shaking his hand. He's pounding it on the mat. He's trying to wake his hand back up, get his hand's killing him. And with Kushida being a submission guy, it makes sense to try and take out his hands. So that all that kind of made sense to me still, sticking with, yes, it's a go-to move a lot, but I think it paid off because Kushida worked it into his end of the deal.
Yeah, for sure. Both of these guys can sell their asses off, and these are great workers. And I'd say I've just got a whole bunch. I've just got note after note with submission attempts and reversals, and these reversals were just beautiful. There's no other adjective for them. Everything flowed so well with these two. They were so on point, and their chemistry worked so well together that every submission attempt and reversal by either Kushida or Pete Dunne was just beautiful.
Yeah, I love this match from beginning to end. I thought it was a great match. They told a good story back and forth, One was up, one was down. They were the submission attempts and the reversals were great, and I got nothing bad to say about this match.
No, I've got a couple highlights here. Pete Dunne at one point stomped Kushida's elbow, and I don't know if this was selling. I don't know if it was just working on Pete Dunne's part. I don't know if it was camera angle, but it looked like Kushida's elbow hyperextended. And when I saw Pete Dunne stomp it, I was just like, ooh, I cringed. I physically cringed. And we know because we didn't see any X's, we didn't see any EMTs come out or anything. Nothing was really wrong with Kushida, but
good selling,
man,
good working.
sick. Yeah.
The one thing that I had slightly against it for a moment was they were spending a lot of time on the outside of the ring for a little bit, and sometimes that can get a little old. Where it's like
that can get old.
But other than that, that was about it. Then that was like and then I got to get nitpicky on that.
There was a hammerlock suplex from Kushida on Pete Dunne
was that off the top rope thing that he did, or was that the other? There was another spot where he did that move off the top rope and then went into the hoverboard lock, and that was pretty dope.
Yeah, I think that might be what I noted on here. So yeah, that was just sick looking. And then just another note on Pete Dunne selling. He was selling his ass off. And then we're back to the Phalanges, Brian. We've got Pete Dunne manipulating Kushida's fingers and then just straight up stomping on those little bastards. And then Pete Dunne eventually hits the bitter end here, and we get the 1, 2, 3. Pete Dunne wins over Kushida.
This was a good match. It could have went either way for me, but it told a good story. I thought this match was a good draw in. If you didn't know who was the, quote, good guy and bad guy, and just a casual wrestling watcher or a new wrestling watcher, somebody's going to give this a shot, you knew what was happening just from the way that they came in and told the story. You just said, well, this Pete Dunne guy kind of goes a little dirty, and Kushida seems to play it babyface and be the good guy. And it just told a good story of back and forth, up and down, and it wasn't a lot of drama to it. It was just a entertaining wrestling match.
I mean, that's a really good analogy there because, like I stated before, I don't watch NXT on a regular basis, and I'm neither a Kushida fan or Pete Dunne fan. So going into this, watching this, it was almost like a blank slate for me. I didn't know what happened anytime recently to know if Pete Dunne was still a heel or not. But this match was just put together so perfectly that, not knowing the characters, you still got told a pretty good story.
Agreed. They need to stick with more of that, and we will stop talking about AEW altogether and have to talk about NXT.
Yeah, if they keep this shit running. Next on our agenda here, we've got the Gauntlet Eliminator match, and this is for a chance to fight Johnny Gargano on night 2, which is tonight as we record this.
So now I don't know if it's because AEW has fed me a platter of shit every time that we've had Gauntlet Eliminator ladder match, multiple guys in the ring style matches, but I thought this was pretty good and done fairly well. It started out weird for me because they came back from commercial and you already had Leo Rush and Isaiah Swerve Scott already in the ring. And then the match kind of started. So I don't know if that was a weird thing because of Peacock and commercials and where they were at, but for us watching it on USA, it just kind of came back and they were in the ring and they were going.
Right, and I'm going to agree with you on your initial feeling on this. I think it's AEW feeding us a platter of shit every week, is just putting a bad taste in our mouth even when we see something like this. Because I saw, well, first off, I had to do some rewinding because same problem you had there. You come back from commercial and it's just Swerve Scott and Leon Ruff in a match. I don't know if I fast forwarded too much or what, but I thought it was a one-on-one match, and I'm like, oh shit, here's a countdown, and wait, here comes Bronson Reed. What's going on here? And then I caught up and figured out what was going on.
Yeah.
But once I realized this was a gauntlet eliminator match and there was going to be a countdown, I was just ready to be disappointed.
Yes. I didn't understand that this was a gauntlet eliminator match either. I think we missed something watching it on USA versus Peacock is what I believe happened. Because I did the same thing. I doubled back from my commercial. I was like 15 seconds back, and I was like, okay, watch it from the commercial. I'm like, oh, no, there's Leon Ruff, there's Isaiah Swerve Scott. Okay. No, I didn't miss anything. I'm just watching what they gave me. But again, I caught up relatively quickly and figured it out what was happening. And then watching this, as it unraveled and guys came out, I was going, well, the only one I had no faith in was that Leon Ruff. Other than that, I kept going, this could be anybody.
I'm with you on that one. That's our battle royal rule right there. That we're not big fans of today's battle royals because there's so many people who absolutely cannot win. But with this thing, it was pretty much anyone had a shot, including Leon Ruff in my book.
I mean, he had it, but I put him, like, if we were to rank him, he would have been at the bottom, not at the top of my list. But the hell, they already gave him they already had them have that North American title one other time, so why not?
Absolutely. But with Swerve Scott and Leon Ruff starting, that was exactly what you expected. It was a bunch of circus tricks and nothing too significant until Bronson Reed eventually joins the match. And first thing I notice on him is his weird ass mullet. Is there a story behind that?
I think he's just a big.
That is
the mullet's back, man. The mullet's back.
The mullet has made a comeback.
See, I think it worked great having Swerve and Ruff in the ring first, as you got to kick the match off at a very high pace. Then you bring in Bronson Reed, who's a giant and is not going to move that fast, but now you have two fast guys and one big guy, so now you're going to offset each other that way, and you can either have some power moves and some high flying and some double team action, and I think it works good.
Yeah, definitely. Bronson Reed was a great contrast to bring into these two. You got Bronson Reed and Leon Ruff take Swerve Scott out of the mix for a little bit so they can do a little big guy, little guy action there. And that's pretty much what that was, just spots of the 90-pound Leon Ruff and the 400-pound Bronson Reed pretty much just playing pretty much King Kong and fighter jets. At that point, you just got little paper airplanes bouncing off King Kong here.
Now, there's the one spot that they did where it was that big double German suplex thing, where Bronson Reed double German suplexes Leon Ruff and Isaiah Swerve Scott. I was not a fan of that. I didn't care for that at all. It was definitely like, okay, set it up and a big jump, and Bronson Reed can fall backwards.
That was next on my list right here. It was just so awkward and set up and contrived. You got Leon Ruff and Swerve Scott trying to double team Bronson Reed, which is totally understandable. You got a guy who's barely 200 pounds, a guy who's barely 140 pounds, and then you've got this big ass Bronson Reed. Obviously, they're going to team up. But it just gets super awkward because we end up at a point where Swerve Scott is hugging Leon Ruff from behind, almost like a protective boyfriend, just cuddling him gently. And then Bronson Reed walks right into it, is able to hug both of them from behind. And then we get a weird, contrived is the only word I can think of, as German suplex here. And it was just like, ugh.
Yeah, that was a little stinky, but I could get past it. Then we moved after that. I think we add the next person, don't we?
We added Cameron Grimes into the mix, and I'm starting to see the formula to this pay-per-view. Or, I'm sorry, I call it a pay-per-view is free, but in the NXT world, this would be a pay-per-view. Every time I was shown the ingredients, the first thing in my mind is I'm not going to like it, and then I ended up liking it. So it's like showing me a recipe for a cake.
You're like,
And I'm
oh,
like, yeah, that's going to be garbage. And then I actually taste it and it's amazing.
where are you at on Cameron Grimes?
I hate Cameron Grimes. Uh, I hate his gimmick. I hate his character. But when he got in the ring in this match, it it added the right spice. And Cameron Grimes was able to mix this batter up a little bit and it works. You got Cameron Grimes and Swerve Scott working together to knock Bronson Reed out of the mix a little bit. And then not gonna lie, I was a little confused at this point because Cameron Grimes pulls a stack of cash out of his panties.
Because remember,
I understand he's a rich guy or
he cashed
whatever.
in with Bitcoin and GameStop.
Right. And he gives Swerve Scott a stack of cash out of his panties. And Swerve Scott sticks it into the front of his pants. Swerve Scott violently fireman carries Leon Ruff into the corner upside down. And did you watch that spot, Brian?
Yeah.
Where, man, that looked rough and it looked dangerous, and I was a little concerned at that point. But after that, Swerve Scott pulls a stack of money out of his panties and just slaps it down onto Leon Ruff. What was the point of taking a payoff from Cameron Grimes if you're just throwing all your money away?
Yeah, that part didn't make sense to me either. I think that was an audible call in his like deciding to do something, and that part did not make any sense to me. He's just like threw it, and it was like, where does that fit in? Why would you take the money and throw $10,000 all over the ring?
Right. Make no sense. So that just kind of solidified that Cameron Grimes' wrestling work in this match was great, but his just character is just awkward.
Yeah.
I don't not it doesn't draw me in at all. It's just it's a fast forward button waiting to happen.
Right. Where do we move on from here? Are we pulling out the next guy?
We are Dexter Loomis enters his slow, methodic, molasses-like entrance, and in the meantime, while Dexter Loomis is looming on the entranceway here, Swerve Scott eliminates Leon Ruff. So we got our first elimination of the night.
Yeah, you're gonna have at this point it was gonna get too many guys, and then things are gonna get lost, and you're gonna have to do that weird go lay on the outside of the ring move, and nobody likes that. So it's time to tell somebody to hit the bricks and hit the showers, kid. And Leon Ruff was that.
Yeah, low man on the totem pole. He was definitely at the bottom of your list as well as mine. Swerve Scott takes him out of the mix. Bronson Reed needs to take a little break. I think he's winded.
Get out of
little
Dodge.
blown up. So Dexter Loomis helps him out with a DDT on the ramp, and Bronson gets to take a breather.
I'm not a fan of Dexter Loomis. He has a pretty menacing look to him. He's in great physical condition, but this like serial killer thing is a little played out.
And to take the name Dexter, it's a little on the nose, if you ask me.
Well, they drove that home too for a while there. They were like his dark passenger, and that was from the Dexter show. They would use that term a lot, so that was a little goofy. The thing that I don't like about Dexter Loomis is that he supposedly is this murderous serial killer guy, right?
Right.
But NXT wants to have a lot of reality-based stories, meaning it's just like, hey, I'm a wrestler, and we're going to wrestle, and we're going to prove it here in the ring. And then you got this guy that lurks around trying to murder people, but like nobody ever calls the cops. Or you know what I'm saying? Like I understand that it's not real. Don't take it that I'm saying that this is all real stuff. But if you want to have a reality-based vibe to your storylines, you can't play make-believe in the middle of it.
Right, precisely. Dexter Loomis is pretty much like a polished Nails.
Yeah.
Remember Nails?
Yeah. As a kid, I was scared of Nails.
Who wasn't?
Who wasn't?
He had to be. But yeah, basically, if you took Nails, dropped them in 2021, and polished them up a little bit, and put a nice slick haircut on them, you got Dexter Loomis. That not to take away from his in-ring work, especially in this match. It worked out great, um, especially with Swerve Scott and Cameron Grimes here. Dexter just a total powerhouse. A couple of them slingshot, suplex, flapjack things. I don't know what they're called, but damn, they look great on TV.
But damn, they look great on TV.
Is there a name for those?
I don't know
things?
off the top of my head either, but just the way that you sold it, you're like these flapjacks back. Damn, they look good on TV.
I guess that's another flaw that I noticed throughout the night, though, is the announce team didn't really give you the name of a lot of moves. Because as I'm taking notes here, and I would see moves that catch my eye, and I felt they were impressive.
Nothing.
But such as this one, I had no idea what to call the fucking thing. Because our announcers are just jaw jacking about other shit or just talking about their phalanges.
my phalanges. Yeah, Dexter Lumis has some great. I don't know the name of the moves, and I agree with you. I didn't hear it either. So, but that move is pretty cool, and maybe it needs a name.
I think it does, and I think he needs to use it more often. The flow of this match is working great. Like I said, you got Dexter Lumis in there being the powerhouse, taking out Swerve Scott and Cameron Grimes, but you still got Bronson Reed in the mix. He was underneath the ramp, sucking on his oxygen tank and eating a cheeseburger or two, and he's ready for action again. And nobody can slow Dexter Lumis down quite like Bronson Reed. He gets his big ass in there, and you got basically Godzilla versus King Kong at this point.
Yes, those were two big guys that could go at it, and finally you can believe that you can have a one-on-one. Previously, you needed to double-team Bronson Reed for the guys that were in the match. So now this is good. You can sit back and watch these two powerhouses beat the hell out of each other.
Yeah. And a nice surprise for me because I completely forgot about LA Knight, a.k.a. Eli Drake. I forgot that he came over from NWA. And so when I saw him coming down to the ring, I was pumped. I was excited to see LA Knight. And
they had him working the mic for his gimmick as he's walking out to the ring. He's like, here, let me help you out with this. And he gives Dexter Lumis maybe a boot to the dome piece as he walks by him. And he's just kind of talking shit and kicking people as he's coming out to the ring. And that was pretty cool.
Cutting a promo on the way to the ring, and Bronson Reed had enough of that and interrupts him, but he ends up getting dropped. And LA Knight hits a gorgeous superplex on Swerve Scott. And Swerve Scott, his athletic ability is off the chain, man. Just even taking a superplex between him and LA Knight here, that thing was a work of art.
Yes. And I was excited. LA Knight came in very hot, very aggressive. He had the mic going. And at this point, he is my number one pick for winning this thing. One, little bit of an Eli Drake, LA Knight mark. I liked him in NWA. But he also came in and was selling this. And he was like the last one in. It was a very big entrance. And right now, he's at the top of my list as we're talking through this match.
I couldn't agree with you more, Brian. He has the most natural personality. I feel that is LA Knight, Eli Drake. I feel that's just him turned up a little bit. And that's the perfect chemistry for a great character on wrestling TV. So, yeah, LA Knight's my guy, too, and I'm hoping he wins. Unfortunately, we're disappointed here in a little bit. But before LA Knight eventually gets eliminated, we see some pretty cool spots from him. Dexter Lumis locking in the darkness on Cameron Grimes here. LA Knight, seemingly out of nowhere, scoops up Dexter Lumis's legs, flips over him, and pins Dexter Lumis. He gets the 1, 2, 3. And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, they were getting rid of people. Now we're starting to move things along, and they did them very interesting. They weren't. There wasn't a lot of that one-on-one. A lot of guys outside the ring laying around. So there was kind of some the way the action was moving in the ring, and then there was kind of we had to work quick pins in and keep things moving because there was guys around you that could break that pin up, right?
Right. I don't know who produced this match, but they did an awesome job of you've got too many people for a traditional match, but you keep the flow moving and you keep everyone involved, and it just worked. It didn't seem awkward. Besides Bronson Reed having to take a breather, but
It
you can't
happens.
you can't fault him for that.
It happens. And where are we at? Where are we at now on the timeline of this thing? Talk me
This
through
is where
this.
the disappointment happens. So you get a short-lived little stint from LA Knight here after he eliminates Dexter Loomis. Swerve Scott, Cameron Grimes, and Bronson Reed all take turns at attacking LA Knight one by one. Bronson Reed eventually gets the pin on LA Knight here. LA Knight is out the gates
Yes, and this is then he goes to the outside of the ring, and he's
and
met
runs
by
into
his.
Dexter Loomis.
We've met by our buddy Dexter Loomis, who puts him in that dark passenger chokehold submission move thing, right?
Right.
And then LA Knight just goes to sleep, and then Dexter Loomis pets his hair while his head is in his lap, and the camera goes off of him, and they go, and they continue watching a match. So you're like, you're just going to watch a guy murder somebody and then pet him strangely, and we're just going to agree that this happened. So we've talked about it earlier, or just earlier in this match, of how I hate that. I don't care the way that they handle that. But we've also talked about how we are not big fans of the cinematic matches in the Bray Wyatt thing that they have going on with Alexa Bliss and Randy Orton and that whole nine. But the only thing I can give to the productions of those matches are those ones seem to take place in an alternate universe. You know, if we're going to get into the Marvel worlds, you feel like you're watching wrestling, alternate universe, different story, different time, this doesn't exist, and then you come back to real world. This is where they're crossing over in NXT with Dexter Loomis being a murderer and choking people out and then petting them like a strange serial killer, rocking on the floor. And then they just pan the camera away and continue on with regular old wrestling gauntlet matches.
Yeah, I actually missed that bit. So I'm glad you had a keen eye on that one and you picked up. Yeah, what a weird fucking spot. just to focus on that cartoony shit here for a moment and then just all right, back to the action, guys. Final three.
Final three.
We're
done with that.
Who cares? LA Knight is now dead. We don't have to fulfill his contract anymore. But on the bright side, we got Bronson Reed, Swerve Scott, and Cameron Grimes as our final three in this match.
That's it. Move on. It was just that part was a little stinky, but I could push past it.
Yeah, it gets a little stinky with three guys standing in a triangle too, just trading chops. That was fucking awkward.
Chop me, chop you, chop me, chop you. Those chop things too, for me, are always like a stand in the middle of the ring trading blows. Like, I wouldn't do that. Put yourself into out in a parking lot and you get into a fight with a guy and you're like, hit me. Cool. Okay, now I get to hit you. It's like, no. I'm gonna hit you a lot.
Maybe a couple of drunk hillbillies would pull that shit, but nobody who actually had real heat with somebody would be like, "Oh, you slap my chest and I'll slap yours."
Yeah, I did not like that. And then where are we moving along to on this? This was a little longer of a match.
Yeah, Swerve Scott. Again, the announcers dropped the ball on giving me the name of this thing, but Swerve Scott essentially hits a zigzag on Cameron Grimes here. Bronson Reed, who just took a super kick to the chin, is stunned and wobbling around like a drunk Godzilla, and he just falls over onto both Swerve Scott and Cameron Grimes. And that was just a weird, awkward part.
This was weird because he gets super kicked. So he's got him in like a Styles clash. Bronson Reed had him in a Styles clash. Then Swerve Scott hits him with that super kick. They drop Cameron Grimes. And then, but then the way, like, why did Bronson Reed turn around backwards?
To make the spot happen, Brian.
But like, have you ever gotten super
I know what
get super kicked in the chin and then 45 seconds later turn around and then fall down? And then that should have been a pin on Bronson Reed as Swerve was going for the pin. Swerve was trying to pin Bronson Reed or Swerve was trying to pin what's his name?
Cameron.
Cameron Grimes. Bronson Reed should have fell and made the pin happen, right? Now he's got 550 pounds, 600 pounds on top of him, and boom. That would have been a cool spot, but it didn't happen. It was just like I fell and you fell, and I turned around, and now it's over.
And that's what made it 10 times more awkward, because it would have been okay if an actual pen came out of it. But no, just awkward, weird bullshit.
Awkward, weird, bullshit. Bullshit.
Then things actually get a little prettier after that. We got some. There are obvious spots going on with these three guys here, but they're pretty well choreographed at this point. So you kind of just got a three-man performance here going on. Eventually, with Bronson Reed on the top rope, Swerve Scott ends up stunning him. I imagine by kicking him or something. I missed that part. But Bronson Reed just kind of out of it, stunned on the top ropes, and Swerve Scott slams Bronson Reed onto the hardest part of the ring apron. That looked a little brutal. Bronson Reed, every ounce of his 400-pound frame came down on his lower back on the edge of the ring there, and I cringed. Oh, that was rough.
He's a big guy, too, to be taking big bumps like that.
And as a big guy with a big belly, just like Bronson Reed here, I know his lower back already hurts sometimes. Carrying that big old gut around, that could not have been great for his lower back.
Definitely not.
Then we get Bronson Reed back into the ring. We get a 450 splash from Swerve Scott, and then we get a 2 count. We get 2 house calls on Bronson Reed. Bronson Reed tries to hulk up and then gets another house call, and that is another 2 count. So we got 4 finishing moves if you count the 450 splash from Swerve here. And then Bronson Reed ends up just getting up, power bombing Swerve Scott, sit down driver thing. That was another thing the announcers dropped their ball on. And then a top rope tsunami and a 1-2-3. I
think we missed Cameron Grimes getting eliminated, but it happened nonetheless.
Yeah, Cameron Grimes tried to roll up Swerve Scott, and Swerve Scott reversed it and rolled up Cameron Grimes. That was actually a pretty forgettable spot.
Yeah, and then we got Bronson Reed going on to take on Johnny Gargano for the North American title.
Yeah,
I was kind of disappointed. Not necessarily disappointed. It was a good match. There were some more highs than lows. There's got to be something that goes to it. They're not going to love the entire thing from top to bottom. I get that. But the ending and then knowing where the ending's going, I guess we'll have to see how it goes tonight.
Yeah. You pretty much said what I was thinking here. I was pretty happy with the match overall. Just like you said, there was more highs than lows. But the ending, it was just, come on, man. You got 3 house calls on this guy, which are supposed to be devastating moves, and just a couple of 2 counts there. And a 450 splash, which I know spinning 1.5 times in the air isn't really doing anything to add momentum or anything like that. But it's looked at as a finishing move, as a, as something that takes you out of the mix and leads to a pin 90% of the time. But we just get 2 count, 2 count, 2 count, and then Bronson Reed just basically pulling a Hulk Hogan, and
I'm winning, sucker.
Yep. You can go ahead and hit me with a fucking truck, but I'm going to power bomb you and then tsunami your ass and get the win. So, yeah, I was a little disappointed in the ending, but it was all right.
It was all right. I can respect it, and we can move on and not dwell on it too much. We'll have to see how it carries over again for night 2 with Johnny Gargano.
And then next match on our card here was
Can't use card. We're WWE partners.
definitely the match of the night. This is the best match I have seen in a long time, Brian, except for one weird spot near the end that we'll get to. But this match, Tommaso Ciampa versus Walter, the NXT UK champion for the NXT UK championship. And one thing I was a little confused on, maybe you can clear this up. Why is Tommaso Ciampa from Wisconsin or whatever fighting for the UK championship?
Well, I don't know. I don't think they have much going on with because I think it just is we're in the NXT universe. He's the NXT UK champion because that's that's the NXT UK. So maybe we're just dealing with the NXT universe, and you can go any which way with it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
Plus,
a British guy can probably win the North American championship, I assume.
Yeah.
So I guess.
Plus, he's had it for 2 years now. They've said.
Yeah, like 700 days or something.
Yeah, and we forget about it, and they needed to bring it to big TV again. So here it is. Hey, remember we got an NXT UK show as well.
and this is where the audience giant screen that takes up an entire wall in the performance arena or whatever comes into play. Just a huge black and white graphic of Ciampa and Walter in the background. And you've got the stare down, and you've got the camera zooming in on these two, and you got the microphone coming down for the announcer. The visual was just on point.
Big fight feel.
Oh, definitely.
And again, you didn't need to know much. You can just go, oh, that guy has a championship, that guy does not, and go.
Yeah, I've only seen Walter in one match, and it was that bloodbath against I can't remember the guy's name, but it was on NXT UK. And yeah, that's the only match I've seen Walter in, but I love this guy, man.
I don't mind.
Awesome. I'm a fan.
I knew you would like him because he has that kind of an old school vibe of how he wrestles and his style. He's kind of boring, but I like him. But so I say he's boring with all due respect. He's very old school, early NWA classic type stuff. Very Gordon Soley announcer is the vibe I pick up from Walter. Plus his name is the name Walter is a very boring name. It's just like Walter. Like I don't know. It's just like so the whole story of Walter to me is like he doesn't prove himself until he gets into the ring, and then you see him go. He doesn't have a physique. He's not intimidating looking. His name's Walter. He's got a generic guy haircut, but he can prove himself in the ring.
I mean, he's a big guy. He's 6'4", and he's billed at 297. But yeah, his physique makes Chris Jericho look like a Greek god for sure.
Yes, currently at that moment.
Again, I don't know a whole lot about Walter as far as his cutting promos or anything like that. All I've seen him is in the ring, and the boringness of the Walter character, whether it's the name or just the black panties and knee high boots there, his selling and personality definitely comes out in the ring.
Yes. The other thing that I thought, if you noticed, got a rule here. You can't be the champion with pants. And Tommaso Ciampa went to pants for several weeks now. And then last night, he went back to trunks. And I thought my man had it wrapped in the bag. I'm like, he's going to be a champion. He switched to trunks. But that was not so much the case, but we're going to break it down as we roll through this here. Eric, what did you love about this match?
That was a good point there. Ciampa going back to panties, that definitely put him in the mix for a potential championship here. But I love how they, right from the get-go, they're focusing on the size difference here. Ciampa is fucking cut. He looks like he's carved out of marble for sure. but he's still significantly smaller than Walter. So you've got Tommaso Ciampa just fired the fuck up and going after Walter, balls to the wall, nonstop attacks, just one after the other. And Walter, he plays up on his size and power, and he can just stop the Ciampa train with just one power move. And as boring as that may sound on paper, it works when it comes to ring psychology. Ciampa knows he has to go balls to the wall, but Walter gets that chance and he can just stop him in his tracks like that.
Yeah, again, my excitement for Walter taking on Tommaso Ciampa was not all that I thought it was, or it wasn't like, oh my God, I gotta sit down and watch this match. I went, it's Walter. I like Ciampa. Let's see where it goes. And I'll be honest, as this match rolled on, I went, wow, this Walter fella is a crazy bastard. He's maybe not be the greatest physique, or if you will, that professional wrestler that Vince so much is in love with. He's just a hell of a hand in the ring and can take a beating and give one back.
Yeah, and I implore you to go watch that.
Yes,
all you got to do is Google NXT UK
Walter Bloodbath.
Walter Bloodbath, and it'll come up. You definitely got to go back and watch that. But Walter does some unique shit too. He does kind of have that slow 80s NWA feel to him for the most part, but he does some unique shit like draping Tommaso Ciampa onto the turnbuckle, climbing up onto the ropes, and just stepping on his throat and tipping Ciampa over the ropes and onto the floor. And I've never seen that before. In 35 years of watching wrestling, I've never seen anything like that.
It goes back good too because the story with Ciampa's neck and being such, that took him out for several months. So he's, working a long-term storyline there, if you will.
Yeah, definitely. And then story of the match for these guys, selling. Tommaso Ciampa is working on Walter's right hand nonstop. Walter is nonstop selling that hand, and he can't use it. And the announcers are playing it up. That's one of Walter's biggest weapons is his right hand, but he can't use it to chop. He's not able to use it for submissions. They're selling the shit out of that hand.
Yeah, he broke the hell out of that announce table when he went to do that big chop on there, and he hit it. That's what long term they kept telling that story, that hand when he hit it. And they broke our table. Like, I can't believe he just chopped right through that. Then they zoomed in on it, and I was like, I'm sure it's probably gimmicked up a little bit, but still, he hit that piece of wood like a motherfucker.
Yeah, Beth Phoenix playing it up. There's splinters flying everywhere.
All right, Beth. Hit the bricks.
We get lots of good back and forth. Ciampa with his little flurries of attacks, and then Walter just stopping him in his tracks. This on one of Ciampa's flurries, he's really going in. He's going 110%, and Walter hits him with this fucking boot, just a traditional stick your foot in the air Hulk Hogan looking boot, but just looks like he knocked out all 32 of Ciampa's teeth here with this boot, man. That was a brutal kick to the face.
Right to the tooth piece. And so this match, I thought, had all the makings to be good, and they pretty much carried on with a good story and a good match the entire time.
Yeah, we're coming up just to emphasize the selling of the hand here. Walter at one point looks like he's got it in the bag, and he's locking in a submission move in the middle of the ring, but he just cannot lock it in because he can't even grab with that right hand now. So he is committed to selling that hand. But this is where we got a little weird here, Brian. So Ciampa decides he's going to take Walter down with a clothesline. And I counted them, and I kept up counting them as long as I possibly could. Tommaso Ciampa, I even watched this in the picture-in-picture break, Brian, so I can continue counting.
That tells you something there.
Tommaso Ciampa hit Walter with legit 25 clotheslines in a row. 25. And it took all 25 of them. On number 25, Walter finally hit the mat. But we spent that much time. We went into a commercial break with Tommaso Ciampa clotheslining Walter, and we came out of said commercial break with Tommaso Ciampa still clotheslining Walter. That I don't know. It just didn't seem like the smartest use of TV here. He could have chopped it down to 9.
A little overkill is what you're saying?
Just a tad.
Just a tad. Was there anything in this match besides that up to this point that you hadn't liked yet? I don't think there is.
No.
I mean, nothing that really stunk up the joint, but even that was just like not even that terrible. It was just like, well, I wouldn't have done that.
No, besides the 25 clotheslines, which was just, I like the idea of where they're going. They just kind of overdid it. There was really nothing else in this match that I didn't like. Ciampa actually, so we're playing up the whole size difference thing throughout this match, but Ciampa actually gets a couple power moves here near the end and gets near falls on Walter, and it really gets the wheels turning. Not only is he getting power moves in this point and getting near falls, but he also switched to panties. So It's really looking like a reality that he might get his hands on that belt tonight.
Looking like Ciampa could pull this thing off. Panties and power moves, that's what you need in life.
Walter, and in his old school fashion here, puts Tommaso Ciampa in a sleeper. Tommaso Ciampa breaks out with finger manipulation. Back to the Phalanges here. But we got to play up the weak right hand here, and that's how Ciampa breaks out of that. Walter hits this released German suplex that should be taught in wrestling school. Thing was gorgeous.
Eric's found a new favorite wrestler.
Hits a humongous clothesline here. Basically clothesline Ciampa out of his boots here. Gets a 2 count. And things are getting a little intense at this point.
Yeah. Keep talking me through this. You're making me want to go watch the goddamn thing again. I mean, I sat here and watched the entire thing, but it's like shit.
Yeah. So after that 2 count, Ciampa is ready for another comeback. Walter tries to clothesline Ciampa again. Ciampa reverses it into a submission, and they're really playing that up because it looks like they're in the middle of the ring. How could Walter possibly get out of this, especially with his bad right hand here? And then you realize, oh yeah, he's 6'4" and his legs are about 90 inches long. And he gets his toe on the ropes there. So they play that up a little bit. Ciampa is just nonstop. This guy's cardio, he must spend so much time on the mud walker at Planet Fitness.
Yeah,
his cardio
100%. He never stops.
No. And he is just back to going nonstop on Walter here. You gotta give props to Walter too, because there wasn't a shit ton of rest holds at this point for Walter to catch his breath. If you look at his physique, you would think he would need at least 9 or 10 rest holds in a match, but yeah, he's up on his shit too. Ciampa and Walter end up on the top rope there, and Ciampa does this weird driver over the back thing again. Announcers dropping the ball on the name of it. Do you know what that thing was called?
I don't. And Ciampa always has names for things. Like he's got the Willow's Bell and this and that, and just so there should be a name for some of these moves, and they drop the ball on these.
Anyway, Walter's a big boy, but Ciampa's strong as an ox. He's got Walter draped over his back and drives him into the mat off the top rope, 2 count. And then we're trading chops. So excuse my blurb from earlier. Trading chops, as we go back to our earlier discussion, is not really in my list of favorite spots in a wrestling match. especially after this one with so much passion behind it, we're just going to go ahead and slap each other's chest for a while. Um,
Like the new
there's a
rest hold
cool,
almost.
like the new what?
Rest hold. They're going to sit there and rest hold and slap each other's chests for a while.
Pretty much. Walter is showing a little bit of desperation at this point, and he just wants to use his weight advantage to possibly get a pin on Tommaso Ciampa. Ciampa bridges out of a pin, and not only bridges up and slides Walter off of him, he lifts Walter, all 300 pounds of him, up with a bridge.
In his broken neck, and then like does like a weird headstand yoga move thing. He's bridged up onto his neck, which has been, broken.
Yes, Ciampa is an ox in Lululemons. He's strong as fuck, and he's doing yoga. He is. Tommaso is just showing. He is showing his talent in this match here.
Strong as an ox in Lululemons, boy. That's funny. That's funny.
And then here we go. We're kind of overdoing the ending here. Walter hits two extremely brutal power bombs on Tommaso Ciampa and only gets a 2 count. And at that point, you're kind of like, oh, well, that was definitely a logical ending point for this match. A double power bomb from Walter on a beaten up Ciampa here. But we end up getting this like huge throw from Walter and then a chop. A chop ended this match, Brian, with the 1-2-3. And Walter retains his title.
I wasn't mad that Walter retained the title, but I'm with you on a deflating ending.
Yeah, you just had 2 amazing power bombs where it looked like he was going to drive Ciampa right through the mat. And those end up getting a 2 count, and we end on a chop.
It was a little weird. I agree with you. There could have been something more to end it up, but you take the only thing that sucks about this is the worst part of the match was the ending, and so unfortunately, that's what you're going to remember.
Yeah, for sure. That's going to stick with you, the weird ending, but this match, if anyone out there missed the NXT show, if they decided to watch Mike Tyson on AEW instead, you definitely need to go back and check out this match for sure.
100%. So far, this thing has been a damn good pay-per-view. I keep saying pay-per-view as well. Special event.
Yeah, and then we run into our next match, and our next match kind of just stopped me in my tracks and my excitement here. I just came off this high of Walter and Tommaso Ciampa, and then we are treated to a 3-way tag match between Mendoza and Wild, MSK, and the Grizzled Young Veterans.
Yeah. I'm going to be honest with you. I was kind of in the same boat, too. I thought tag teams, too many of them in the ring, too many guys, not enough guys that I gave 2 shits about, unfortunately. MSK is a young up-and-coming tag team. I liked what they did at their NXT pay-per-view event a few weeks back. That they won the Dusty Classic, and I was, that was all cool stuff. But to be honest with you, this was not my happy spot. I didn't really care for this thing, care too much for this, just because I didn't care. I didn't know about the guys, and I didn't care why I was watching it.
Right. That pretty much hits the spot for me too, where this one, I tried it. I tried the cake, and I just, it wasn't there for me. The ingredients were just too bad. I don't care about Mendoza and Wild. I don't care about the Grizzled Young Veterans. And as far as MSK, I just see him as a couple of rugrats, like almost like AEW rejects, where
they exist and they could possibly be something one day, but it's just doesn't get me all hyped up and excited right now.
And they come off, they start this thing going 100 miles an hour with spots, and too many people in the ring at once, and it's just pure chaos. And I honestly felt like I was watching an AEW match at some points in this thing,
Yeah,
and it just kind of took me out of it. And then also at the end, seeing MSK end up winning, uh, it was just like, ugh.
it didn't matter to me that they won because it didn't have a I didn't have a horse in the race. So I went, cool, some young guys won, great, wonderful, let's see what we can do, and we'll move on to the main event.
Yeah, that's a good point there. I shouldn't have cared that MSK won because I didn't really give a shit if Mendoza won or the Grizzled Veterans won. So
I just said, cool, some young guys got the chance, more power to you, and then went on from there. And that's about as much time, honestly, Eric, because I don't really care to spend on that tag team match.
yeah, I'm right with you on that. And then our main event of the night, which I think, no surprise to you or anyone listening, I think should have been switched with Champa and Walter here. Our main event ended up being Io Shirai versus Raquel Gonzalez for the NXT Women's Championship.
Yeah, I was surprised to see it got put here in the card. I know we're not supposed to use that term anymore, but surprised to see it got put here in the card. And all in all, this was a decent match itself. We're just going to take the whole package for what it was. There's some highs and some lows, but we can talk about them here for a little bit. So, where were you? Where'd you stand on this, Mr. Eric Todd?
So after seeing a few masterpieces, if you will, or some great technical wrestling throughout the night, whether it is Walter and Champa or our beginning of the match here with
Pete Dunne and
Pete Dunne. After seeing that, you're expecting perfection almost. You're expecting fluidity. You're expecting chemistry and everything to work like a well-oiled machine. And then you just get a styles clash right here. You get Io Shirai, who seems like in my book is just interested in getting her shit in, getting her high spots and her goofy shit in.
What can I jump off of tonight? What can I jump off of tonight? Where can I go?
And then you got Raquel Gonzalez, who's not the most experienced female wrestler ever, but she's definitely impressive. But the reason to watch Raquel Gonzalez is her power. And so to me, they just didn't work very well together. It just seemed clunky and didn't flow well for me.
Well, here's why I think that I lead in with my statement of saying I was excited about this match. Or not that I was excited about this match. I was pleased with this match. I was pleased with the ending.
Oh, for sure.
And that was the taste left in my mouth, right? The bad ending of Walter and Ciampa was like, meh. It kind of leaves you going, was that good? I don't know if that was good. I thought it was good, and then it ended like that. That wasn't good. And then this Raquel Gonzalez match and Io Shirai, you're going, it's okay. All right, Io's got to jump off of this. Okay, there she goes. They spent a lot of time outside the ring. They spent a lot of time on that ramp, not being counted out. I get that they can do that whole, well, the ref's letting them go. And okay, just break the count. And it was just a lot of nonsense happening. But the way that it ended for me, I was like, cool. I like a title change. And I don't like Io Shirai, so then I was happy. I do like Raquel Gonzalez, so I'm going, well, that's cool. I'm happy with the outcome of it. So the match itself was just me waiting for the thing that I wanted to happen at the end. Whatever they did in between didn't really matter.
Right. And now I was kind of shitting on Io here for her just spot fest here, but the crossbody off of the skull set was kind of cool looking for sure. We really can't deny that, and the fact that it was on the metal grating. So you had the visual of it. It definitely looked higher than it was. The crossbody itself was a little ugly, but I think the sound of the metal grating, of them two hitting the metal grating, kind of played up the spot too and made it a little more impressive.
Yeah, the only thing that I don't like about the Io Shirai dives and jumps is that you know when they're coming because it's then all of a sudden a nice tight shot of them on now her opponent tonight being in this match being Raquel Gonzalez. And you're going, well, where there's a whole arena, there's people in the arena, there's two people fighting, and we're just a nice tight shot on Raquel. She's holding her wrist or her arm, whatever she was doing, and then they pan back to a well-placed Io Shirai in her spot getting ready to jump on you. So it's just this, you can kind of feel it coming. And that gets a little bored, when you can feel it coming, right?
Right. Definitely, for sure. It's just almost something to do while you're watching this match, is waiting to see what Io's going to jump off of and what kind of goofy spot she's going to pull off tonight.
Yeah, and it happened. As you said, she got to get her shit in. And she did.
Yeah, definitely. And the title change was the highlight of this match. Raquel Gonzalez ends up hitting a humongous one-arm power bomb, and it was nice to see not only the title switch over to Raquel Gonzalez, but for the match to actually end on a logical spot on a big, powerful move.
Yeah, Raquel Gonzalez is big, strong, and powerful, and Io Shirai is tiny and fast. Like, that's the story, right? And she just grabbed her and one-arm power bomb spiked her into the mat, pinned her, and that's it. We got a new women's champion for the NXT brand, so I was happy with that. Overall, I was relatively happy with this whole event and this whole night. I enjoyed it. I'm actually excited to watch night 2 of this thing to see how they wrap it all up and continue on with it. So, man, NXT might be put the hook back in the water for me to check it out a little more often. I stay up to date on it, but to really give it a good, good actual watching.
Yeah, we'll see how they carry this through back onto their normal Tuesday night shows. This was a special event. Definitely, they're all into this, but it'll be interesting to see how they carry it over to Tuesday nights and if they can keep people hooked, as you say. At the risk of sounding a tad bit chauvinistic, I do question the placement of this match on a logical basis, so WWE is pretty open that they have like analysts on their team. They have people who watch the ratings, who analyze tweets, who basically overanalyze all the feedback they get from fans, and that's kind of how they put their cards together and figure out who they're pushing and how to push them and what direction to go and who's baby faces and who's heel. I can't personally think that this was the match that people were pining to see tonight. I don't think I haven't seen the ratings, but out of the roughly 800,000 people who tuned into this thing were dying to see Io Shirai and Raquel Gonzalez. I think this is just patronizing, and they've been dragging this women's power thing. They have been dragging it for a couple years now, and I think it's kind of reached its end to where can we actually have them be equal now, and let's put matches on based on excitement and the matches people want to see. I thought this was terrible placement of this match being the main event.
Look at it like this. We called it the main event, but what if we were looking at this as one big card put together, broken up over 2 nights? So would this be your highlight of your middle of the card?
So yeah,
you'd have to see how they would have to put together night 2, right? I'm just challenging you to look at it a different way. So if they put night 2 to continue going where it ends on an even higher note of the NXT Men's Championship was not defended, you have that going on night 2. So if you look at it as one big card, this is only the middle of the card.
Yeah, this would be our TNT Championship placement.
Yes. So just a different way to look at it. But that wraps up our go along there for night 1 of the NXT Stand Up Takeover and Deliver, or what is it? Stand Up and Deliver Takeover.
Stand and Deliver. Yeah, Takeover night 1.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what night 2 is about. I'm excited to see what WrestleMania brings us. I'll be watching all of it, and next week we're going to be talking about, well, WrestleMania, and we will have to gloss over at least NXT's Takeover night 2 with a quick rundown of the card and that, and then hammer down through WrestleMania and what happened through 2 nights of WrestleMania as well. So a lot of stuff going on. I'm glad that WrestleMania is not 2 nights going on from the next couple years that they have planned out. So I'm happy for that. And but we will see what these 2 nights unravel for us here in the next coming days.
Yeah, and in the same vein of WrestleMania, because it kind of goes into the feel of WrestleMania weekend, although it took place on Tuesday, we'll probably touch a little bit on a little bit of the Hall of Fame, how that went down. A couple of the speeches were definitely interesting to see. A couple of the inductees were interesting to see. Great Khali is always good for a laugh. And so, yeah, we'll touch on a little bit of the Hall of Fame inductions and 2 nights of WrestleMania. Should be a pretty interesting show next week.
Yes, tune in. So make sure to stay up with us here at the KayFabe Smark podcast on all the social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Like, subscribe, share, leave a review, share it with a friend, hop on Spotify, give a rating, give it on iTunes, and that's what I got for you guys. Head on over to audibletrial.com/KayFabeSmart. Get a free audiobook, free 30-day trial. Check all that out. All of that for you from us for this podcast. Help us help you. Eric, what do you have for us?
I've got nothing else to say. I think we are wrapped up for the night. So the last thing on our plate is, of course, hooty hoo. We out the gates.